I'm Rachel Ann Goodman, and this is Talk of the Bay on K-Squid Radio for the Monterey Bay Area. I'm speaking with Welton Jordan. He is Chief Real Estate Development Officer for EAH. It's an organization that builds affordable housing around the country, something that many people in the Monterey Bay are keenly interested in, given the unaffordability of many places around here to live. Recently, he was involved with the grand opening of a new housing complex for veterans who have been experiencing homelessness. Let's start out by talking about how it felt at the grand opening and who was there, because you were there.
The feeling was great. It's always amazing, to see our work in action and to be able to house, this population at this site and working with, our partner, VTC. I mean, it's always a great feeling, to bring affordable housing to, those that need it the most.
What does VTC stand for? And tell me about that organization in case people aren't familiar.
So the VTC is the Veterans Transition, and what they do is they provide the services for the veterans, like the on-site, more acute services. And so that is this was their genesis of their idea. The VTC is the Veteran Transition Center of Monterey. And they chose to partner with the EAH, and, it was on a Fort Ord base. So it was a, decommissioned Army base, and a lot of environmental and water and, different kind of hoops you have to jump through when you're trying to build something new on a decommissioned base in a city like Marina. And they were patient with us as we worked through the financing and the legal challenges and environmental challenges and things of that nature to kind of get this done. So it's a great partnership. What we do well is build, and what they do well is services. So it's a great partnership.
And I want to get into some of the details of the services they provide. But first, how many people are going to be housed who were formerly unhoused by this project?
So we have 70 units total, and they're all dedicated to veterans. 19 are what we call chronically homeless. And then there are an additional 17, which are also chronically homeless, but a different program. It could do a whole thesis on the layering of funding and all these different programs.
Right. So it's kind of divided between different segments depending on their needs and depending on how their circumstances, it sounds like.
Correct. That's the best way to put it. But again, all 70 are dedicated to veterans. And then there are kind of different buckets inside of there, based on their levels of need.
For a lot of people, they will just be shocked or surprised perhaps to hear there is such a homelessness problem among veterans who served our country. If you're aware of any statistics at all, or even just the prevalence of it in our own community, what do you know about that? Because it just seems so antithetical to the way we think about how we should treat people who went above and beyond in service to their country.
Right. I think in Monterey County, I believe the number is a little bit over 200 that are in, I guess, again, when you talk about the acute need of housing. And then there are, significantly more that what you may consider at risk. And so, that's 300 to 400 too many, right? There should be none. And I can say, in terms of Monterey County and kind of what we know from working with the VTC is that, this development, and we also have another one that we're working on with others that are in the community, are helping to move at least Monterey County towards, what is called functional zero, where anyone who needs a home or would want a home, should I say, can find one. So at least in Monterey County, again, I would say that there a lot of good work is being done by us and others.
As far as the financial thing, do people have to pay any rent at all? And are most veterans on some sort of benefits from the government? Certainly, apparently not enough to house them in all cases.
Yes, yeah. People do have to pay rent. It's typically calculated at about 30% of their income. We do have, they do have other subsidies and financial assistance from the government that I'm not, acutely aware of, but there is a rent that is paid, so it's not fully free housing. And then some of the units do have some rental subsidy from the Monterey County Housing Authority. I have to pull that number up. But I would say, there's a good chunk of them that do.
Do you have any anecdotes of people you talked to at the grand opening or as they were getting ready to move in, just about what it means to their lives to get out of the streets and into safe housing?
Yeah, I mean, even there were stories shared at the grand opening. I mean, these are people who, for one reason or the other, fall on hard times. And it's very emotional, but for some reason or another, fall on hard times and end up homeless, or are in unstable housing where they've moved 4 or 5 times before they finally found a stable place. So the stories are kind of endless in terms of what happens. Sometimes they have stable housing. Sometimes they may live with family members and that family member passes away. They may be in a relationship and that relationship is over. It could be an accident. Then they're no longer able to work. And it's just not as easy to kind of get back on your feet, once you kind of hit rock bottom. So, again, I think just going back to the kind of immense joy that, you feel to see, the years and years of work end up into permanent housing. And it's even more special when you're talking about our vets.
Yeah, I can really imagine and see that because so many people in our communities are just a paycheck away from being homeless, becoming homeless because of the high cost of housing, all across the Monterey Bay area. But for sure, in Monterey and Santa Cruz counties are some of the more expensive places in the entire state to live. So I'm wondering how you found people who needed the type of housing you were building. What was the process of making sure that most needy people got into this housing development in Marina?
So a lot of our referrals actually come through the VTC. Again, they're probably one of the more preeminent service organizations because all they do is focus on the veteran population. So a lot of our referrals came through them. And then, there's a overly convoluted process on getting folks qualified. And for those that do have rental subsidy, there's another piece that you have to kind of go through with the housing authority. But how we found the residents, it was largely in part to the VTC.
And we were going to talk, and I'd love to hear more about what kind of services. Like, it's one thing to finally find yourself with something over your head, a nice cozy place to live. But I'm sure people have a lot of other issues that led to them being homeless, mental health issues or other types of things. And I know there's some veteran services in Monterey, but I'm wondering on the site proper that VTC is providing, what kinds of things are they helping with?
So VTC, a lot of times it's tailored to what the resident. It's always tailored to the needs. So there are a little bit of coordination between EAH's services and then the services that VTC provides. So, for instance, with VTC, they'll do the case management. So they'll give residents individual service plans. And, they'll help them with counseling, mental health care, physical health care, substance abuse, sometimes, employment, on the job training, if that's available. So things of that nature, financial, those kind of things. And probably with some coordination with the VA. And then what EAH does is we have a what we call a service coordinator that works on site, and they coordinate and kind of act as a liaison between the things that, even though VTC does an extensive array of services, there may be some things that they don't cover, or they may not be as plugged in with, because EAH, we, as a nonprofit organization, we work across the state, and we partner with over 300 other service providers, and really trying to make sure that they have the holistic approach to providing services. So whatever the VTC doesn't do, that's where EAH pops in. And again, we have a full-time resident services coordinator that works on the site and helps connect the residents to the non-intensive services, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it totally does. I was wondering a little bit too about the age, representation among the veterans that are living there, and is it people from all different wars, all different eras? You think that the younger people are going to be there, for life, or is it just a place on the way to getting a job and getting more stable for some people? What's kind of the mix there?
It's hard to tell because, I didn't get to see everybody. But I would say from the eyeball test, there definitely were some people that looked a little bit older. So, giving them stability in the later stages of their life are great. And, there probably are some folks on the younger end of the spectrum that have served. I didn't think there's anybody that's active duty. So, I guess kind of our last real war was a while ago. So, I think there's older to, definitely some folks that were, on the elderly side, if you will, were there. And, again, I think everybody needs the help, and no matter what your age is. And again, I can't say it enough. It's really just amazing to finally get this done. It took us a very long time to get here.
How long did it take you?
I'd say probably 10 years.
That's quite a bit. Yeah, a long time to be waiting,
Yeah.
especially for older veterans who need a place right away. But now it's
Yeah.
open, and you said you're working on another project on the Fort Ord area. What's that about?
No, it's not on Fort Ord, but it is in
Oh,
Monterey County. It's in Greenfield, and there's a set aside for veterans on that property as well.
oh, I
So
see.
serving a very similar community, but it's inside of a larger community.
Right. And,
So
Fort Ord
this
just,
one is
sorry, Fort
cut you
Ord
off.
is so historically perfect because a lot of people served, went through there as they were in service, whether they were in Vietnam or the later wars in the desert. So it seems, that the closing of Fort Ord, it brings it full circle in a way to serve the group of people that originally it was built for in a different way. Rather than train them to be soldiers, it's helping them survive the life storms that might be hitting them now in their older years. So it's great what you're doing. And any final thoughts on any of it, on what you're doing or how it feels to see people finally move into these places?
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing this for close to 17, 18 years now, and we have built housing for the entire spectrum of people in need, from veterans, homeless, family, senior, and again, it's just a great honor, particularly for this population. For those who served and fight for our freedom every day, to be able to provide an essential need, which is housing. That's our niche. That's what we do. And I wish we could do more of it, but it's not, not how the funding works in our kind of wacky world. But again, happy to be able to do whatever little bit that we can to kind of help solve this issue.
Welton Jordan, thank you for being here with us. Welton Jordan is the Chief Real Estate Development Person for EAH, the organization that just opened a brand new housing development for veterans who are homeless. So thanks for spending the time on Talk of the Bay, and good luck with all your future projects.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.